We have this tendency to romanticize high intelligence, right? We think of it as a gift, a superpower, but what if there's a hidden side to all that brilliance? Today, we're going to dive into the psychological struggles that can actually come with having a really powerful mind. So, when I say the word genius, what pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's this image of a real life superpower, almost like a golden ticket to an amazing, extraordinary life. Yeah, we picture someone just breezing through life, solving impossible problems in seconds, always having the perfect witty comeback, a life where every single door just swings right open. It's kind of the Hollywood version of being smart. Clean, simple, and, let's be honest, incredibly appealing. But what if that's just the highlight reel? The truth is, having a high-octane mind doesn't automatically mean you're on a smooth ride. The reality is so much more layered, more nuanced, and oftentimes a lot more challenging. And that right there brings us to what we can call the brilliance paradox. It's this fascinating idea that the very thing that makes someone so exceptional can also be the source of some really unique friction and struggle. We're going to look at the other side of that sharp mind. Okay, so let's really define what we're talking about here. It's this concept, the burden of brilliance. Now, this isn't a complaint, not at all. Think of it more as a framework for understanding this unique set of challenges, social, internal, and even perceptual, that really brilliant minds often have to navigate. All right, so let's dive into the first big area where this really shows up, the social disconnect. This is all about how hard it can be to find your place and, find your people when your mind is just operating on a slightly different frequency than everyone else. So in this section, we're going to look at 4 key things: that constant feeling of being misunderstood, the absolute agony of small talk, the deep loneliness that can come from that, and, that unintended consequence of being seen as intimidating. This quote, man, it just nails it, doesn't it? When your brain is wired to see complex connections that others miss, just trying to explain your point of view can be exhausting. It's like you're constantly having to translate your own thoughts, and that can lead to a really profound sense of isolation. And of course, that leads right into the agony of small talk. Look, this isn't about being arrogant or snobby. It's just, for a mind that absolutely thrives on deep, meaningful connections, talking about the weather can feel like you're using a supercomputer to do basic addition. It's just incredibly draining and feels totally inauthentic. So all that friction on the outside, it creates some serious pressure on the inside. Let's move on and explore the battles that can rage inside a brilliant mind, often completely invisible to the rest of the world. This slide just lays it all out so clearly, the huge gap between perception and reality. People see what they think is effortless perfection, but inside, there's often this crippling fear of not living up to those expectations. They might look super confident, but they're frequently plagued by imposter syndrome, that nagging feeling that they're a total fraud who's about to be found out. And while everyone expects them to be quick and decisive, their ability to see every single variable can lead to massive overthinking and indecision. And this brings us to a really key term: analysis paralysis. Ever heard of it? It's what happens when you can see 10 possible outcomes, 15 potential problems, and 25 different variables for any single decision. How do you choose just one path? The mind's greatest strength, its ability to analyze, suddenly becomes its own trap. Okay, our final area of struggle is, wow, it's maybe the deepest one. It's the burden of awareness. This is what happens when a mind perceives the world with an overwhelming level of detail, complexity, and emotional depth. It's the challenge of simply seeing and feeling too much. And this kind of hyper-awareness often shows up in a few key ways: deep existential anxiety about life's big questions, a heightened sensitivity to emotions, intense frustration with things that just seem illogical or inefficient, and often this feeling of being an old soul, even from a really young age. Have you ever thought this? Why can't they just see it? The solution is so obvious. This quote just perfectly captures that frustration. When you can quickly see the root of a problem and a clear path forward, it can be absolutely maddening to watch others struggle with it. It creates this constant internal battle between wanting to help and just feeling totally exasperated. And then, there's the big existential stuff. Constantly pondering things like mortality, purpose, the vastness of the universe. That's not just a casual intellectual exercise.
It can create a genuine, deep-seated anxiety and make you feel fundamentally out of step with the day-to-day concerns of the world around you. So, after exploring all these challenges, where do we go from here? Well, it's so important that we reframe how we understand genius. The goal isn't to diminish the gift, but to move from seeing it as only a burden toward finding a real sense of balance.
Look, the big takeaway here isn't that being brilliant is some kind of curse. Not at all. It's a complex trait that just, well, it requires a different kind of user manual. It demands a unique level of self-awareness from the individual, and it really asks for a greater degree of empathy and understanding from everyone else. And the good news is, there is a path forward. It all starts with just acknowledging these struggles exist, not ignoring them. It involves consciously choosing self-compassion over that drive for perfectionism. It means actively seeking out your intellectual peers, your tribe, the people who get you. And finally, it's about learning how to communicate your needs clearly and kindly to others. And this all brings us to one final, and I think really crucial question. Now that we can see the burden, how can we do a better job of celebrating the brilliance? Because by understanding the whole picture, we're not diminishing the gift, we're finally seeing the whole person. Thanks for digging into this with me.